So, like I said earlier, follow my real spill because this first topic that I'm talking about is basically I was talking about it in my real spill. But I'm going to more so tell y'all the overall and what happened versus in the real spill. Since it's more live topic, I kind of go in depth on basically my feelings towards it and how life paints it. So my real spill came from this topic. So it actually happened 30 minutes away from Houston. It was a 17-year-old kid, Darryl George, and his family files a civil rights lawsuit against Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Attorney General Ken Paxton. This comes after he was suspended from his high school, Barbers Hill in Mount Bellevue, Texas, because his hair violated the district's dress code, that his hair cannot be worn in a style that extends below the top of his shirt, below his earlobes, and below his eyebrows. So his family is basically um, suing and putting a civil rights lawsuit because it's violating the Crowns Act, which is basically you you can't be discriminated based off your hair. So they're basically um, putting a whole lawsuit out, and he's not the only person that this has actually happened to at that school. There was a couple of people, one by the name of DeAndre Arnold and Cindy Bradford, who had the same issue. They ended up getting suspended by that school, Mount Bellevue, for having dreads, and they threatened Darryl George that if he doesn't cut off his dreads, he will not be able to go to the school that he is going to. He has to be sent to an alternative school. And the crazy thing about it is Darryl George's hair, his locks, is intertwined with not only his locks, but his father's locks and his grandfather's locks. So the parents do not intend on Darryl to cut off his dreads, meaning that he will potentially have to go to an alternative school until he is able to cut off his locks or he can transfer. Now, just like I said with the other people, DeAndre Arnold and Cindy Bradford, they had ended up transferring after having the same situation, and they ended up filing civil lawsuits against the school, and that is still on ongoing investigation. And it's kind of crazy because of the simple fact that the Crowns Act, Governor Greg Abbott had ended up signing up on it, and it went into effect September the 1st. So that way, kids, people cannot be hair discriminated based off their hair and if it's a historical thing. So locks are basically mainly historical for black people. So with that in mind, they can't be discriminated on any of that. So with the school, they're trying to say that the length of the hair doesn't necessarily mean that they're getting discriminated, basically trying to find loopholes to that way they can follow the rules of the Crowns Act. They don't have to follow the rules because it's a whole nother set of rules. It's kind of like a loophole that they're trying to find in the rule book, but the parents had ended up following the civil lawsuit against them, stating that even if that is a part of the loophole, it still feels as though that their son is being discriminated off their hair. So, with that in mind, and I want y'all to understand this. So, the Crowns Act has been going on for a little minute. California was the first state to pass the Crowns Act, so that way people cannot be discriminated based off of their hair. But this is not a statewide thing in regards to every single state does not have the Crowns Act. So you can still be discriminated no matter where you go based off your hair. There's some states that have it set, but there's some states that don't have it set. Texas is one of the states, luckily, that does have it set. But everywhere you go, you're still going to get discriminated based off the type of hair that you have, especially locks. I feel like locks is one of the biggest hairstyles that get discriminated upon, that gets talked about the most, of their character being bad. And it's just crazy for him because he can't even go to his own school unless he cuts off his locks. You got other races that can have mullets, that can have any other type of cuts with long hair, but that doesn't get in effect the Crowns Act. But if it's just locks, that's going to be basically discriminated because of the simple fact that it's unprofessional. It doesn't look good for a professional standpoint. And I just never got that. And I said this in my real spill. Anytime that you go somewhere with locks, you're going to get profiled. They're going to think that you're a bad person. If you have tattoos, they're going to think that you're a bad person. They think all of that is unprofessional. And it's kind of crazy living in this world, because nowadays, locks is a popular trend. I have locks, clearly. I didn't necessarily follow the trend. That's not what I'm saying. But locks is the new trend. And it's been the new trend for now a couple of years. So now kids all over the world are getting locks. But what people don't know is that the biggest con with that is the fact that you'll get, discriminated and get talked about, profiled based off your hair. They're going to think that you're a bad person. If they can't see your face, they're going to automatically think that you're up to no good. If you have tattoos, they're going to think that you're up to no good. That's why with jobs, you can't have some jobs you can't have tattoos. You got to have your hair up a certain way, because that's the professional look. Who said that should be the professional look? Last time I checked, you should be able to do whatever you want. You should be able to color your hair, have tattoos. Now look, I can see if the school district said you can't have these irregular color dyes like your purples, your greens, and orange. Even though that is still messed up, I still wouldn't be a pro to that. I will still have some issues towards it, but there are school districts out there that have that, because it's not your true hair color, and it kind of disrupts kids. I can see if they say that, but the fact that you can't even have locks past your eyebrows because of how society paints it, in a way that if it is below that and they can't see your face, they're gonna think that you're just this bad person and all of that. And the character that they believe that you are is not even the case. You can go up to them and talk to them and be like, hey, I didn't even think that you was even like that. That's exactly what they're going to say. But if they would have just gave you a chance, instead of judging you by your cover, your looks, they would know that. They would know that. But they don't want to see that from the aspect of how we are as people. They see first impressions. They see what you look like. They see if you don't have clothes, they're going to think that you're poor. If your hair isn't professional, up, cut, groomed, they're going to think you're up to no good. If you don't have the shoes, if you don't have the clothing, if you don't have your hair right, if you don't have anything, if you're less than, in their eyes, they're going to think that based off what they see, based off their first impressions. But when they actually talk to you and y'all actually have a conversation, come to find out that's not even you, they're surprised. They're surprised. But if you didn't just judge them, you would have never even thought of that. And it's crazy because every single state isn't like that. I don't see what's the point in not having that law for all states. There's still some sort of discriminating anywhere that you go. The law hasn't changed, and the laws has been here since the beginning of time, but you still have things that are going on that were going on hundreds of years ago. You got black people still going through the same thing that they was going through 100 years ago in regards to discriminating. And with us black people, it's hard for us to do certain things compared to other races out there. We're already at a disadvantage. Us having tattoos makes us at a disadvantage. Us having locks makes us at a disadvantage. For jobs, for simple jobs. Us having a criminal background, whether that's black, white, anything, you already at a disadvantage. But based off the way that you look, and to society it's not professional we're at a disadvantage already. It's not that many black podcasters out there. It's not that many black people that are in jobs, period. And most of them that are in jobs that are up there high paying, they had to adapt to the professional look. They can't have the tattoos. They can't have the hair a certain way. Now, granted, there's some that are out there that are like that, but what's the percentage of that compared to the bigger picture that are going with the what society quotes as being professional? Short haircut, no tattoos, all of that. We're already at a disadvantage because we can't be ourselves. Because we'll get talked about in some way, shape, or form. And for this kid not being able to go back to his high school, he has to go to an alternative school. He's been in ISS. Can't even see his friends for weeks. The other students, they couldn't even go to their graduation ceremony, so they had to transfer in order to do that. Your hair shouldn't define who you are. Your hair shouldn't be the breaking point of you not going to your graduation ceremony. You not even starting school. And the fact that there's still schools out there that'll do that. Private schools, public schools, all types of schools. And the fact that this is a public school. This is a public school. And obviously, like I said earlier, his hair is intertwined with his dad's and his grandfather's. So there ain't no way that he'll cut that off. People grow their locks for different reasons. People grow their locks for culture. People grow their locks for spiritual reasons. People grow their locks for wanting just to follow the trend. People want to grow their locks for a whole lot of different reasons. There's pros to having locks. A whole lot of pros. Maintenance is way less. But the con that no one really wants to look at is the simple fact you will get profiled no matter where you go. And you see it every day. You see it every day. I have my personal experiences on me getting profiled going somewhere. But you having locks makes it worse. You getting inked up makes it worse. So it makes us as people have to question certain things that we would want to do. Is it really worth it? Because to other people that were under, in parentheses, work or boss, it won't be professional to them. You hear all the time, you got to get your tattoos once you get your job. Because there's some jobs out there you can't have tattoos. They have to be covered. Or you can't have them, period, or you won't get the job. So they tell us to wait to get the tattoos until we get the job, until we're actually sitting comfortable. And then we can express by getting our tattoos and getting locks. But it shouldn't even have to be like that in the first place. It should be, we should be able to get our tattoos. We should be able to grow our hair out. Do whatever we want to do. Males, females, blacks, white, any race. We should be able to do what we want to do and know that we can still get this job. We shouldn't have to be hesitant on doing something that we want to do because our boss or someone that's on top of us wouldn't like that. It doesn't look appealing at all. What doesn't look appealing about it? And Texas approving this law, and things are still going on, and the school district is trying to find loopholes and trying to say that the law that they have, the student policy that they have about the length of the hair doesn't match up with hair discrimination is still crazy to me, because why are you still trying to find loopholes or something when that's the overall thing of it? You're discriminating based off the type of hair that you have. It could be short, it could be long, it could be whatever, but it's still the type of hair that are primarily worn by black individuals. So we know that it's a race thing. They're not going to say that it's a race thing. Greg Abbott hasn't done anything. Ken Paxton, he's going through a whole trial. He's for sure not doing anything right now. And the other instances with DeAndre Arnold and Cindy Bradford, that's still going on. And that's been 2 years ago in 2021. So it's been 2 years and they haven't got no word. So the school district can still do whatever they want to do. Whatever they want to do. Unless they get answers that they have to change the school policy. But until they change the school policy, it'll still be the same thing for each and every student that is there. They got to have their locks a certain way. They can't have locks. They can't have it this long. Like, that's just discriminating. Anywhere that you go, you'll get profiled. Anywhere. People see first impressions of you. Like I said, if you look a certain way, they're going to think that you're a certain way. They're going to think that you act a certain way. You can be in the worst part of town and dress a certain way, and they're going to think that you're a part of that environment that acts that way, but in actuality, you're not. Not everyone is going to act how their environment is. Not everyone is going to talk to people a certain way based off where they are, or treat people a certain way based off where they are. But if you don't give them a chance to even express themselves, how would you even know that? But you're judging them based off where they're at. Some people don't have what the average people to above average people have. They might have to live in the hood. That don't mean everyone in the hood is bad. Just because we have locks, that don't mean that we're automatically bad. We criminals. We're just following the trend. We're doing it for different reasons. Just like people are in the hood for different reasons. They don't have money to go to the suburbs. That's where they feel comfortable at because all of their family members are there. But that don't mean that the people there are these hood rats, hoodlums, or whatever you want to call them, and they're going to treat you a certain way. They're going to rob you. They're going to kill you. They're going to do whatever to you. But if you don't give them a chance and you don't talk to them, how would you know that? Just like with having locks. If you don't even give them a chance to express themselves to you, how would you know if they're actually good people with big hearts, very caring, or if they're real deal criminals? How would you know if someone that has tattoos is genuinely a good person or not if you don't even go up and talk to them? But you're profiling them from the very jump. You're judging them from the very jump. And that's where the world just gotta just sit down and just think, like, give people chances before you just automatically think of a person. Because people be going through things. Everybody goes through something. So with this incident, I don't know if he will get answers because this is not the first time this has happened at the school. This is probably the first time that it's reached national attention. It's been on CNN News. But will it get attention? I don't know if it'll get attention from Greg Abbott because Greg Abbott hasn't even said anything. It's seeming like he doesn't really care, and it's crazy because he signed off on it a couple months back, and it went into effect in September. The Crown Act went into effect on September 1st. And you're still having instances of hair discrimination and schools trying to find loopholes to get out of the Crown Act. There shouldn't be no discriminating of hair. Locks, mullet, Edgar cut, waves, mohawk, afro, curls, Jerry curls, whatever. It should all just be the same. Everybody should be the same. My hair shouldn't define who I am as a person. Me having long dreads, even though that they're up right now, shouldn't define me as a person. Same with tattoos. Tattoos is just art on your body. You're expressing yourself in some way, shape, or form. Just like with locks, it's an expression. It comes from different things. Just like with his locks, it's intertwined with his dad's and his grandfather's. So there ain't no way that he will cut off his hair. I wouldn't even personally cut off my hair if that was the story behind it. Everyone that grows their hair out has some sort of story. Whether that's just because or whatever. Everyone has a reason for growing out their hair. But it shouldn't be an issue to the point to where I can't go and get an education because my hair doesn't meet the standards of the school and it's not professional. Because they have laws like that for a reason. They're not going to have laws and rules without reasoning behind it. So whatever their reason for not being able to have locks that long is BS to me. Just like they have laws with beards and stuff like that. I feel like that's BS too. But I really hope that this family does get justice because they deserve it. You should be able to go to any school and it should be focused on education. Your focus is education. Not my hair is a certain length and it ruins the education of other people, because it doesn't. Like I said, the only way that could potentially ruin education for others is if they dye their hair green, purple, pink, like outrageous colors that distract people. And that's like the only reason. And I don't even agree to that because you should be able to do what you want to do. So if people are able to dye their hair outrageous colors, green, pink, purple, I'm not saying outrageous in a bad way. I'm just saying like irregular, out of the ordinary, not like your browns, your blondes. People should be able to have their hair a certain length, express themselves. People go through things when they grow out their hair. Spiritual, it's a lot. But I really do hope that Darryl George's family can get justice and they get a response. Obviously transfer, go to a different school, go somewhere to where you can get your education and you know that you can get your education instead of having to think about your hair and it not being professional and not good enough for whatever school you want to go to a different school. I hope that you get justice for this. I hope DeAndre Arnold and Sidney Bradford gets justice for this, even though it's 2 years. Continue to fight because this is not right. And like I said, there's still schools out here that don't have the Crowns Act, so you can still get discriminated based off your hair, which I don't understand why. Why don't all 50 states have that law? I thought we were done with discrimination. I thought that was in the past, but you still see it till this day. Still see some sort of discrimination. It's not as bad as what it was. It was way worse back then. But the fact that it's still here is the bigger picture, and it's the bigger issue.